In 1954, a 15-year-old girl could patch a torn shirt so cleanly you couldn't find the seam, bake a loaf of bread without a recipe, and darn a sock heel while the radio played. Her granddaughter today can barely sew on a button. But here is the twist. Number 8 was taught in nearly every high school home economics class in America, yet today most people under 40 have never even heard of it. And number 3, it is the reason a whole family lived on a single paycheck when yours needs 2. These were not hobbies, they were survival skills, passed mother to daughter, that whole industries later spent millions convincing us we no longer needed. Before we start, hit that subscribe button. Let's count down the 30 skills every American girl mastered by 15 in the 1950s. Number 30, polishing the good silver. Every household had a chest of it, wedding gifts and hand-me-downs wrapped in felt, and a 15-year-old girl knew that tarnish was a personal failing. She would mix a paste of baking soda and water, or reach for the tin of Wright silver cream that cost about 35 cents, and work it into every fork, tine, and spoon bowl with a soft rag. The trick was the follow-through, buffing each piece dry so no cloudy film remained, then laying it back in the drawer, facing the same direction. It was slow, meditative work, done at the kitchen table on a Saturday. When company came for Thanksgiving, that gleaming silver said everything about a family that words never could. Today, most of us own nothing worth polishing. Number 29, setting a proper table. A girl learned the geography of a place setting before she learned to drive. Forks to the left, knives and spoons to the right, blade turned inward toward the plate, the water glass sitting just above the knife point. She knew the napkin folded to the left or tucked under the fork, and that the bread plate belonged up and to the left. This was not fussiness, it was a language everyone spoke, a way of showing a guest they were expected and welcome. She could set for 6 in under 2 minutes, humming while she did it. Home economics teachers graded it, mothers inspected it. Today, most families eat off their laps in front of a screen, and the grammar of the table has quietly gone extinct. Number 28, hospital corners on a bed. Before fitted sheets took over, every bed was made with 2 flat sheets, and a girl of 15 could square a corner tight enough to bounce a dime. She would tuck the bottom sheet at the foot, lift the hanging edge into a crisp 45-degree fold, drop it, and tuck the tail underneath. The result was a bed so smooth and taut, it looked ironed. A well-made bed was the first thing a girl did each morning, a small act of order before the day's chaos. Today we shake out a fitted sheet, yank a comforter over the wreckage, and call it done. Number 27, penmanship in the Palmer method. A girl's handwriting was her signature on the world, and by 15 she wrote a flowing, upright script drilled into her since first grade. The Palmer method taught movement from the shoulder, not the fingers, endless loops and ovals practiced until the hand obeyed without thought. Her thank you notes, her letters to a soldier cousin, her recipe cards were all rendered in the same graceful, legible hand. Teachers rapped knuckles over a sloppy capital. A good hand meant a good upbringing. It could land a girl a job as a secretary, a bank clerk, a teacher. Today, a whole generation cannot read cursive at all, and the loops that once carried a family's love across the miles have vanished from the page. Number 26, answering the telephone the right way. The party line telephone hung on the wall, and a 15-year-old girl knew the ritual cold. She answered with the family name, Miller Residence, clear and bright, never a mumbled hello. If the call was for her father, she took a message on the pad kept by the phone, name, number, and the time in her careful hand. She knew not to tie up the line, not to listen in on the neighbors, and to end with a polite, "I'll be sure to tell him." This was etiquette with real stakes, because a garbled message could cost a man a job. Today we let it ring, decline the call, and text a shrug. The courtesy of the voice is gone. Number 25. Ironing a man's dress shirt. This was a rite of passage, and a girl was not considered capable until she could press a shirt with no scorches and no cat faces, those little puckered creases that betrayed a careless hand. She sprinkled the shirt with water from a soda bottle fitted with a cork sprinkler, rolled it tight, and let it rest so the damp spread even. Then came the order that never changed: collar first, then the yoke, the cuffs, the sleeves, and the body last. The iron hissed, and a stack of a dozen shirts might take an hour. Her father wore her work to church and to the plant. Today most shirts are wash and wear, and the skill of a mirror-flat collar has slipped out of living memory. Number 24. Starching collars and cuffs. Long before spray cans, a girl mixed her own starch on the stove, stirring powdered argot into cold water, then cooking it to a translucent gel. She dipped the collars and cuffs, wrung them just so, and pressed them stiff enough to stand on their own. Too much starch and the fabric cracked and chafed a man's neck raw. Too little, and the collar wilted by noon. Getting it exactly right was a matter of feel, learned through a dozen ruined Sundays. A crisp white collar was armor in a working town, proof that a family had not given up. Today we buy a can, or we simply stopped caring, and the art of the perfect collar dissolved with it. Number 23. Removing a stain without a single chemical. Here is the first thing that will surprise you. A girl of 15 was a walking encyclopedia of stain removal, and she did it all with things from the pantry. Blood came out with cold water and salt, never hot, which would set it forever. Grass yielded to a paste of vinegar. Rust surrendered to lemon juice and a spot of sun on the windowsill. Grease drew up into a sprinkle of cornstarch left to sit overnight. Coffee, ink, berry, wine, each had its own remedy memorized. In a house where a dress had to last 2 years, saving a garment from a stain saved real money. Today we throw it out or dab a Tide pen and hope the old chemistry is forgotten. Number 22. Hand washing delicates and bluing the whites. A girl knew that certain things never went near the machine, and she washed them by hand in the kitchen sink with a bar of ivory or a swish of Lux Flakes. She rinsed her mother's good blouses and her own stockings in cool water, pressing, never wringing. And she knew the secret of the truly white sheet, a few drops of laundry bluing in the rinse. The faint blue tint tricked the eye into reading the fabric as whiter than white. Too much and the sheets came out sky-colored, a mistake the whole clothesline would witness. Today we dump everything in on one setting and let the machine decide. The delicate touch is lost. Number 21. Running a wringer washer. The Maytag wringer in the basement demanded respect because it could catch a sleeve and pull an arm through if a girl was careless. She sorted the wash into loads, whites first in the hottest water, and fed each piece between the rollers to squeeze out the water before hanging, fingers well clear, ready to hit the emergency bar. It was hot, heavy, all-day work, hauling water and lifting sodden clothes. But by 15, she could run a full wash for a family of 6, single-handed. Automatic machines arrived and erased the danger and the labor both. What vanished with them was the sheer physical competence, the calm handling of a machine that did not forgive. Number 20. Darning a sock. When a heel wore through, and it always did, a girl did not throw the sock away, she rebuilt it. She slipped a wooden darning egg or a burnt-out light bulb inside to hold the shape, then wove new thread across the hole, warp first, then weft, laced over and under until a fresh patch of fabric appeared where the hole had been. Done well, it was smooth enough to wear without a blister. A darning basket sat by every armchair, and mending was evening work done while the radio played. A pair of socks cost real money, and a girl who could darn saved her family a small fortune over a year. Today, a hole in the heel means the trash can, and the needle and egg are museum pieces. Number 19. Invisible mending. Beyond darning lay the true art, the invisible patch, and the best girls could repair a tear so cleanly that no one could find it. She would pull threads from a hidden seam or a hem, then reweave them into the damaged spot to match the weave exactly, following the pattern of the cloth thread by thread. A tear in a good wool coat, a moth hole in a sweater, all could be made to disappear under patient hands and good light. This was the skill that let one coat last a decade and get handed to a younger sister. It took the eyes and the nerves of a surgeon. Today, mending itself is rare, and invisible mending is a nearly lost craft practiced by a handful of tailors. Number 18. Sewing a dress from a paper pattern. By 15, a girl could turn 3 yards of fabric and a 15-cent simplicity or butterick pattern into a dress she would wear to a dance. She pinned the tissue pattern to the cloth, cut along the printed lines, and read the symbols like a second language: notches, darts, the grain arrow. Then came the machine, the treadle rocking, or the new electric singer humming, seams pressed open, a zipper set by hand, a hem blind stitched. A store dress cost a week's grocery money, a homemade one cost $1 and a Saturday, and a girl's first dress was a badge of adulthood. Today, most people cannot thread a machine, and clothing is something we buy, wear briefly, and discard. Number 17. Knitting a sweater. Second surprise coming. A girl of 15 could knit an entire sweater from the neck down without a single mistake, following a pattern in a Woman's Day magazine or working from memory. She cast on, knit and purled, shaped the armholes, turned a heel if it was socks, and grafted the shoulders closed so cleanly you could not see the join. She knit on the bus, in church by the fire, needles clicking in a rhythm as natural as breathing. A hand-knit sweater kept a child warm through a Midwestern winter for pennies of yarn. A finished sweater was a gift of pure devotion, hours of a girl's life woven into wool. Today, store sweaters cost less than the yarn, and the needles sit idle. Number 16. Crocheting lace and edgings. With a single hooked needle and a ball of fine cotton thread, a girl created lace, the delicate edgings that trimmed pillowcases, the doilies that protected tabletops, the collars that dressed up a plain frock. She read crochet patterns dense with abbreviations, double crochet, chain, slip stitch, and turned them into pineapples and rosettes and scalloped borders. It was slow, exacting work, a single doily taking many evenings, the thread so fine it strained the eyes. But a crocheted trim turned an ordinary thing into an heirloom. Girls filled their hope chests with it, stitch by stitch, dreaming of the homes they would keep. Today, machine lace costs nothing and means nothing, and the magic of making fabric from a single thread has all but disappeared. Number 15. Embroidery for the hope chest. Every girl kept a hope chest, a cedar box slowly filling with the linens of her future home, and she embroidered nearly all of it herself. She learned the stitches by name: the satin stitch, the French knot, the lazy daisy, the stem stitch, and worked flowers and monograms onto pillowcases, dish towels, and tablecloths. Iron-on transfers guided her needle, but the skill in her fingers made it art. A set of embroidered pillowcases was a treasure, hours of careful work destined for a marriage bed years away, a portfolio of skill and patience she could point to with pride. Today, the hope chest is a curiosity in an antique shop, and a monogram is something a machine stamps in seconds. Number 14. Making a white sauce from scratch. Here is where it gets practical, because a girl who could make a white sauce could make 100 dinners. She melted butter, whisked in an equal measure of flour to make a roux, cooked it until it smelled nutty, then poured in milk a little at a time, whisking without stop until it thickened into a silk-smooth sauce. From that one base came creamed chipped beef on toast, macaroni and cheese, scalloped potatoes, chicken a la king, tuna casserole. No lumps, no scorching, just the patient whisking her mother drilled into her. It was the foundation of thrifty American cooking, the thing that stretched a little meat across a whole family. Today, we tear open a can of condensed soup, and the confidence to build a sauce from butter and flour has faded. Number 13. Baking bread by feel. A girl of 15 could bake a week's worth of bread without measuring much of anything, judging the dough by the feel of it under her hands. She proofed the yeast in warm water with a pinch of sugar, worked in the flour until the dough turned smooth and elastic, and knew by the spring of it when it had been kneaded enough. She set it to rise near the stove, punched it down, shaped the loaves, and baked them to a hollow-sounding golden crust. The smell filled the house and drew the whole family to the kitchen. Store bread existed, but homemade was cheaper and better. Today, most of us have never kneaded dough, and bread is something with a barcode. Number 12. Pie crust that shattered like glass. Third surprise, and it is a controversial one because pie crust separated the girls from the women. A truly great crust was flaky, tender, and never tough, and the secret was a light hand and cold fat. A girl cut lard or shortening into the flour until it looked like coarse crumbs, added ice water a tablespoon at a time, and stopped the instant it came together, because overworking made it leathery. She rolled it out and eased it into the pan without stretching. Apple, cherry, custard, her crust framed them all, and a woman's reputation could ride on her pie at the church social. Today we unroll a chilled disc from the store, and the light-handed craft of a proper crust has slipped away. Number 11. A layer cake from scratch before the box. Betty Crocker's cake mix was just arriving, but through the early 50s, a girl still built a cake from raw ingredients and pure skill. She creamed the butter and sugar until pale and fluffy, added eggs one at a time, then alternated flour and milk to keep the batter smooth. She knew to fold, not beat, and to fill 2 pans evenly for level layers. Out came a tender crumb she frosted with a boiled 7-minute icing whipped to glossy peaks. This was the birthday cake, the anniversary cake, the cake carried proudly to a potluck. The box mix promised to save her the trouble, and it did. But it quietly retired, a skill mothers had passed down for generations. Today, most people have never made a cake without a box. Number 10. Canning and preserving the harvest. Come August, the kitchen turned into a factory, and a 15-year-old girl worked the line beside her mother, putting up the garden for winter. She sterilized the ball jars in boiling water, packed them with tomatoes or green beans or peaches, and processed them in a pressure canner or a boiling water bath, timed to the minute so nothing spoiled. She listened for the ping of each lid sealing as it cooled. A single summer's canning filled a cellar with hundreds of jars, food that carried a family clear to spring for pennies. Get it wrong, and you risked real sickness, so precision was survival. Today, canning is a hobby for the few, and the pantry comes from a supermarket shelf. Number 9. Making jam and jelly. Within the world of preserving lived a sweeter art, and a girl knew how to turn a pail of berries into jars of jewel-bright jam. She measured fruit against sugar, cooked it hard, and knew the exact moment it reached the setting point, testing a spoonful on a cold saucer to see if it wrinkled. For jelly, she strained the juice through a cloth bag, hung overnight, never squeezing, because squeezing turned it cloudy. She poured the hot jam into jars and sealed each with a disc of paraffin wax. Strawberry, grape, blackberry, crabapple, the shelves glowed with them, breakfast for a whole winter. Today, jam is something we buy without a thought, and the setting point is a mystery. Nobody tests anymore. Number 8. Rendering lard and saving every drop of fat. This is the one almost nobody remembers. A girl learned that fat was precious and nothing went to waste. Bacon grease was strained into a can, kept on the back of the stove, ready to fry eggs, season beans, or start a gravy. When the family butchered or bought fat trimmings, she rendered them slowly into snowy white lard, the finest fat for a flaky pie crust and the crispiest fried chicken. During the war, her older sisters had even saved fat for the government to make explosives, and the habit lingered deep into the 50s. Then, nutritionists declared war on animal fat, and it all went in the trash. Today, we buy oil in a plastic jug, and the wisdom of the fat can is gone. Number 7. Plucking and dressing a chicken. A store chicken came whole, feathers, feet, insides and all, and a girl of 15 could take it from farmyard to frying pan without flinching. She scalded the bird in hot water to loosen the feathers, plucked it clean, singed the last pinned feathers over a flame, then drew the innards with a steady hand, saving the liver, heart, and gizzard for the gravy. She jointed it into pieces ready for the skillet. This was ordinary Saturday work in a country a generation off the farm, and it took a strong stomach and a sharp knife. Today, chicken arrives in shrink-wrapped, boneless pieces, and the knowledge of where dinner truly comes from has been sealed away behind cellophane. Number 6. Churning butter and making do in the kitchen. On many farms and in plenty of town kitchens, a girl still made butter, and she knew the whole rhythm of it. She let the cream ripen, poured it into the churn, and worked the dasher up and down, until the cream broke and the golden clumps of butter separated from the buttermilk. She washed the butter in cold water, worked in a little salt, and pressed it into a mold. The buttermilk went into biscuits and pancakes because nothing was wasted. It was long, arm-aching labor, rewarded by butter richer than anything in a store. Today, butter is a foil-wrapped stick, and the girl who knew how to make it from cream is 3 generations gone. Number 5. Tending a kitchen garden. A girl of 15 could feed a family from a plot of dirt, and she knew the whole cycle of it. She started seeds in eggshells on the windowsill, hardened them off, and set them out after the last frost, which she could predict from memory. She knew which plants loved each other and which to keep apart, how deep to sow, how to hill the potatoes and stake the tomatoes and pinch the suckers. She weeded at dawn, watered at dusk, and battled the beetles by hand. A good garden cut the grocery bill in half and filled those hundreds of canning jars, knowledge born of the victory gardens and passed straight down. Today, most of us cannot keep a houseplant alive, and food is something that simply appears. Number 4. Home nursing and doctoring the family. Fourth surprise, and a serious one. A doctor cost money and lived miles away, so a girl of 15 was often the family's front-line nurse. She could take a temperature, read a fever, and bring it down with cool cloths. She made a mustard plaster for a chest cold, brewed ginger tea for an upset stomach, and knew a poultice from a compress. She could clean and bind a wound, splint a finger, and sit up all night with a sick child. Much of it she learned from her mother and the well-worn home medical book on the shelf, and she knew when it was serious enough to fetch the doctor. Today we reach for the phone and the pharmacy, and the calm competence of the home nurse has faded away. Number 3. Running the household budget. Here is the skill that changed everything. A girl learned to stretch a single paycheck across a whole family with a system of envelopes and a ledger. Money came in on Friday and got divided at the kitchen table. So much for rent, for groceries, for the coal, for the church, each into its own envelope. And when an envelope was empty, the spending stopped. She kept accounts to the penny and saved a little even when there was almost nothing to save. This was how one income built a house and raised the children. It was arithmetic and discipline and iron nerve. Today, household debt is normal, budgeting is outsourced to an app, and the envelope system is a relic. Number 2. Charm, posture, and poise. Beyond every practical skill sat the way a girl carried herself, and by 15 she moved through the world with grace. She walked with a book balanced on her head to train her spine straight, sat with her ankles crossed and her hands folded, and entered a room like she belonged there. She knew how to make introductions, how to make a shy guest feel at ease, how to hold a conversation without gossip and disagree without a scene. Charm school lessons and her mother's example taught her that manners were kindness made visible. This poise opened doors in courtship, in work, in every room she would ever enter. Today we call it stiff or old-fashioned, but the girl who had it moved through life on a current of quiet confidence we have largely lost. Number 1, the art of making do. And finally, in first place, the skill that held all the others together, the deep, unspoken genius of making something out of nothing. A girl of 15 looked at a worn sheet and saw pillowcases, looked at a flour sack and saw a dress, looked at last night's roast and saw 3 more meals. She saved buttons, string, wrapping paper jars, and the smallest scraps of soap pressed into a new bar. She could turn a Sunday chicken into Monday sandwiches, Tuesday soup, and Wednesday's pot pie. Nothing was thrown away that could be mended, remade, or repurposed. This was not deprivation, it was ingenuity, a whole way of seeing the world in which everything held value and waste was almost a moral failure. It was the wisdom that carried families through the Depression and the war, handed down as naturally as breathing. Today, in a world of the disposable, that instinct is the most forgotten skill of all. Her granddaughter buys new and throws away old and never learns to see, as that girl once saw, the second life hidden in everything. So there they are, 30 skills every American girl mastered by 15 in the 1950s, from polishing the silver to the art of making do. Here is my challenge. Pick one, just one. Darn a sock, bake a loaf, or budget with envelopes for a week. Then tell me in the comments whether your grandmother was just being old-fashioned or whether she knew something we forgot. Which one surprised you most, and which skill do you wish had been passed down to you? Let me know below.